All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Premiere Pro Basics. We're going to go ahead and get started now. My name is Jessica, and I'm a library services representative at the Plano Public Library. Today I'll be assisted by my chat facilitator and tech support, Zoe. Zoe, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today.
Yep, thank you. A couple of ground rules before we get started. You're going to be muted during this class, and we have your video blocked. You will only see my screen. At the top of your screen, you can find a exit full screen option if you need to get to other things on your computer. You're welcome to ask questions or request that I repeat information at any time during today's program. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. You can click on that to open up the chat window. Chat can only be seen by the library staff, and you can ask any questions that you have there. You can also use the Q&A feature to ask questions. Please note that any inappropriate comments will cause your removal from the class. A recording of today's class will be available in a few days on the Plano Public Library YouTube page. So if you would like to watch today's class and practice with the recording later, that is also an option. Go to the next slide. Today we're going to be covering the basics of editing a video in Premiere Pro, covering how to start a project, import your files, and a couple of basic editing skills to get you started. This class is designed to be at a beginner level, so no expertise is required, and we will not be delving into any more complicated topics today, as there is a lot that you can do with Premiere, and this is just a basics class. If you want to follow along with today's class, or later when the recording is posted, the Adobe offers a 7-day free trial of Premiere through the Adobe website, and all 5 of the Plano Public Library locations do have a Adobe computer with access to the full Adobe Creative Cloud, so you can access Premiere Pro free at any time with your library card. In addition, Parr, Haggard, and Harrington libraries have a digital creation space that you can book, or you can get access to the Adobe suite as well, along with some other cool software and equipment. We do have some exercise files along with a handout to share with you guys today. So we will be dropping the link to access that handout and those files in the chat. All right. The first thing, one other thing, instructors are not video editing experts. The purpose of this class is to introduce you to Premiere Pro and some of the basic editing tools and skills to get you started with video editing. Information in this program was accurate as of today, but there are frequent updates to Adobe software, so the placement of things and the way things are done may change. For video editing or Premiere Pro expertise, please utilize the LinkedIn Learning or Udemy resources that is available for free with your Plano Public Library card. All right, now we get to go and see what is Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is a professional grade and industry-leading video editing and post-production software. It's used in film, television, and social media for editing video content. A more specific definition is that Premiere Pro is a timeline-based, non-linear video editing software application. But what does that mean exactly? In order to see what that is, we're going to talk a little bit about linear versus non-linear editing. Linear editing is the process of editing video or audio in a predetermined sequence from start to finish. You start editing at the beginning of a project and finish at the end, with everything staying in sequential order. This was the style of editing that was used with physical film, where reels were cut and glued together. This style of editing has mostly been replaced with non-linear editing, which has become possible with digital video editing software such as Premiere Pro. In non-linear editing, editors are able to work on clips in any order, and they have the flexibility to cut, copy, paste, in any order while preserving the original content. You can start editing wherever you like, whether that's in the beginning, middle, or at the end. And you can also undo your edits and rearrange clips as you see fit. Oh, no, go back. Okay. We are going to switch over to a demonstration of Premiere Pro. Again, if you have the Adobe Suite, you are free to follow along. Are there any questions before we jump into the actual demonstration?
So far.
Right. Okay, we will switch over to Premiere Pro. So this is when you first launch Premiere Pro. If you have Adobe on your computer, you can pull up Premiere Pro either from a shortcut that you've put on your desktop or from the start menu in the bottom left-hand corner, or if you open up the Adobe Creative Cloud application, you can open Premiere up that way as well. So now that we've launched the software, we're going to start a new project. Over here on the left-hand side, we have new project. We're going to click on that. This is where we determine the project name, decide where we're going to save the project, and it also offers the option to pull up a template. If you know what you're making or you've made a template for yourself before, you're able to choose that from the beginning. So first, I'm going to name our new project Premiere Class. Can I spell? I cannot spell. Premiere Class. And then if you're following along, you'll choose wherever you want this project to be saved. If you hit the drop down, you're able to choose a different location other than the default. And then we're not going to be working with a template for this class, so we're going to leave it at none. And then hit create. This little button, import mode, would allow us to add in video as we start the project, but we're going to do that in just a second. We're going to hit create, and now we have a, oh, why is that? Okay, now it is giving me the option to insert and import files. So that'll be on the desktop. There we go. So when you first open up Premiere Pro, it is just, it's asking for some files to get started. If you don't give Premiere Pro any footage, then there's really nothing to edit. Okay. There are 4 different ways to import media into Premiere Pro. This is the import screen. It's got import up there. So we can navigate to where on our computer the file is saved underneath the menus on the left-hand side. So I saved the files on the desktop. So it's desktop and then the folder that contains the videos we're working with today. Able to double click to see what all is inside. And then you can select the folder, or you can select individual videos. So you can unselect if you only want to import 1 or 2. This whole folder is being imported into this project. On the right-hand side here are some import settings. We are going to make sure for this class that all of the toggles are switched off. We don't need them today. And then we're going to hit import to bring these files into the project. And this is the main editing screen for Premiere Pro. If you're working on a project where you didn't have all of your files at the start, or you forgot a file, there are 3 options for importing files once you have reached this workspace. One of them is File, and then down here is Import. Another one is if you click inside the Project panel, which is this down here. So in the bottom left-hand corner, you could choose to, where's that button? Double click inside this. So in white space, you can click here and it'll pull up another window to look for files that you want to add. Or you can also, if you have a Discover window open and you found the file in a different window, you can click and drag it over into that space, that bottom left-hand project panel. All right. Are there any questions about importing files before we get started with editing?
I think we're good to go.
All right. So there's 2 different places where you can edit clips in Premiere. The first one is the source monitor. So that's going to be this section over here. If we select on one of the clips, yes, if we double click on one of these files here in the project in this panel, it'll pull up a preview in the source monitor. Now, down here, we have some options for tweaking and moving through our clip. This icon right here is add marker. So if we wanted to mark where we wanted to start our video, we could put a little marker in by clicking that. You can add comments with the clip as well. And that this can be useful if you are not working by yourself, but you're working with a team and you're all editing the videos in Premiere Pro. If you want to tell someone else, hey, this is where this effect needs to go or something like that, marking can be good for that. The next little open bracket is mark in, which is used to mark the beginning point of a clip. Mark out is where you want the clip to end. This is called go to in, which means so it jumps to that point in the video. This will let you go 1 frame at a time, backwards or forwards, these 2. And then play will just play the clip. And then it turns into a stop button, so you can stop playing the clip. This will let you jump to an end point in the clip. Yeah. And this will, and then jumps to the out point. So then to edit something here, I said a lot of things. Let's find out what some of those things mean. So we double clicked on the file to bring it up into the source monitor. And we're going to use the mark in button to mark the start of the clip. We want it to start 50 seconds into the clip. So we hit mark in. We can move this as like our cursor to find where we want it to start. We start it at 50 seconds. There. And then we want the end of the clip to be at 1 minute and 14 seconds. So that would be the mark out button. We want that to go to, no, not there. 1 minute and 14 seconds. So now we have this tells us how long the clip is now that we've put these little marks. And this tells us where that point was. So now that we have what we want, we can click and drag it down into the timeline. So we click and drag. And now this beach video is showing up in the project preview on the right-hand side. And you'll see that even though over in the source you have some extra footage at the beginning and the end, the part that has made it to the project is just what we marked from the mark in to the mark out. It automatically saves this little segment as the name of the file. We're going to rename it to help us stay organized because these are all beach 1, 2, 3. So we'll give it a little bit more of a descriptive name to keep it on track. So we're going to, down here in the in this bottom left-hand panel, we have this little icon here. Right click and then rename. We'll call it summer vacation. And then click out. And now our summer vacation clip is what's in this preview here. Most of the editing that you're going to do in Premiere Pro is going to happen in the timeline down here. Source editing just helps you bring smaller chunks of the video down to the timeline, but the timeline lets you do a few more things. This is where effects and transitions can be applied with both video and audio files. Lots of effects and transitions are available in Premiere. We're just going to cover the basics today. Right here between the timeline and the project panel, we have some tools. Selection tool is used to select clips, any menu buttons or other objects. The razor tool is used to split clips within the timeline, so we can like break them apart. And then the type tool will let you insert text. So the razor tool will let you make some finer cuts to the timeline or split up a single clip into multiple clips so that they can be moved or deleted independently of each other. So we're going to move this over to the right to give us some space in front of it. I'm going to start at like the 30-second mark, so we'll just do it to here. And then we're going to find beach 1, and we're going to drag it directly into the timeline. And then we can move this to match it. When the two clips get close together, you'll see that there's a little icon that happens, a little triangle that snaps them to each other so that there's no break between the clips. Right here to have video start here, and then we hit play, and then you can see that this video is going to play first, and then once that video ends, it's going to play the second clip. There we go. We want right before the car disappears. Oh. I misread that. Just before the car appears. So we don't want to have a ton of time before the car shows up. So we're gonna find the frame where the car is present right here. And then we're going to use the razor tool. Click on the razor, and then because this line here is where we've determined the frame is, we're going to click here, and now these two clips are separate. So now if we just wanted the part after the car shows up, we're able to select this and delete it. You can just click it and then hit the delete button, but if you right click it, it will let you choose to ripple delete up here at the top, and that will move everything over so that you don't have to do it yourself. It just automatically takes the beginning and end of a clip and takes the two clips on the side of a deleted piece and puts them together. Sometimes the video footage that you put into Premiere isn't always the same size. Different cameras will film at different aspect ratios. We're gonna show you how to edit that. To make sure that it fills the whole frame, we can right click on the video in the timeline and then go fit to frame. We fit the frame. And that'll just make sure that everything stays within the proportions of the project. So like if you're working in 1080p or standard definition or high definition, you can adjust it to make sure that it fits. Now we're gonna show it with Beach 3. Snap Beach 3 in behind the other clips. All right, so we've moved Beach 3 over here. And then in the effects control panel, which is right here in the source monitor, we're going to change the scale. Where are you? I'm not on the right selection. I was not on Beach 3, that's why I wasn't there. So on Beach 3, we're able to adjust the size here. We're going to make sure the position is what we want. And all of these numbers are in your handout if you are following along. Going to do 665 and 309. Oh, 309. Help center that, and then I'm going to change the scale to 124. So that's for Beach 3. So if I start from here, oh, come on. We can control what part of it is there. And it's all set to fit the screen. Are there any questions so far?
So far, so good, I think.
All right. We'll go on to some color adjustment. Premiere Pro has a tool called Lumetri Color, which is a tool for color correction and color grading, which is just adjusting the range of colors that are present in a video. So we can find Lumetri Color by clicking on the effects workspace from the home bar. So we're going to do window, workspaces, and then within the effects panel. So we're going to open up the effects. Oh, it's also down here. Okay, and now we're going to do some adjustment with Beach 4. We're going to drag Beach 4 into the timeline, snapping it past Beach 3. Got this clip, someone running on the sand, or walking on the sand. And then with this selected, we're going to go to telemetry color. And we're going to do some, there we go. Where is it? Inside. All right, so we've got temperature, which adjusts how warm or cold the light is. We're going to adjust this to be -33. So you see that it went from very yellow to now it's got a bit more of a blue tint because it's a little bit cooler of a clip now. And then we're going to change the exposure to be a little bit higher. We want to move it up to like 0.9 to brighten it up. You put it back at how it is, it's kind of dim after you've adjusted the temperature, but if you move the exposure up a bit, it becomes brighter. So those are some very, very basic color adjustment settings that you can do in Premiere Pro. As you can see, there are a lot of other options. All right. And then next, I'm going to move on to transitions between clips. There are lots of options available when it comes to adding transitions to your audio and video files. We're going to be focusing on the cross dissolve transition for video clips. So we're gonna move another beach clip over. Got beach 5, move that to the end there. And instead of just jumping from one clip to another, we want there to be a bit of a smooth transition. So from the effects panel, see, where are my effects? Effects are down there. So effects are visible down here in the panel on the bottom left-hand side. Hit effects, and then we're going to do video transitions. And then in dissolve, we're going to find cross dissolve. And we're going to click and drag so that it is in between beach 4 and beach 5. So we click that. Did that do it? Try that again. Click and drag. If you don't have enough of a video clip in here, say for example, it wasn't snapping to the edge, you may receive a message that says insufficient media. The transition is going to repeat frames. So I think if I do this, basically because it's not overlapping between the two different clips, it's going to have a hard time transitioning from one to the other smoothly. It just fades in on one. We want them to fade into each other. So we're going to, we've got our selection tool selected, and then near the edge of these clips, we've got this arrow. And we're going to drag it, click at the end of beach 4 and drag it into beach 5. Maybe if I do this. There we go, we'll stack them on top of each other. Now, able to remove some off the edge of there. So we've removed a couple seconds from the edge of that, but it's not gone away. It's just hidden. Now we're going to try the cross dissolve effect again. Put that there. And so now if we put this here, put our starting point here, and we hit play, it should transition. Oh, did not transition from one to the other. Okay, now they're overlapping. Now they're overlapping, maybe that'll work. No, okay. Where did the cross dissolve go? I put the cross dissolve at the beginning of that. There we go. So we removed some footage from the end of beach 4, and then at the beginning of beach 5, put that transition. So even though you can't see the last bit of beach 4 in the timeline, it's still happening behind beach 5, and that cross dissolve lets that transition happen smoothly instead of being just a jump. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Okay. We're gonna move one more video into the project. Gonna move beach 6 in, and then we're gonna add some text to that clip. So we're gonna click and drag beach 6 into the project. All right. And then down here in the tools panel, we're gonna hit the type tool and move this to the beginning of beach 6. So over here on the effects controls, there we go. We're able to select text. Okay, we did it out of order. So we've got selected text, and then anywhere in the video, we're able to click here. And now we've got a text box where we can type what we want to say. We're going to say vacation. We'll say this was 2023. So now we've put that text into the video. And then from the effects panel, now that there is text in the video, you're able to see that there's a text option. And we're able to make some changes to what the text looks like. So we can change the font size. Default was 100. We want it to be a little bit smaller, so we'll change it to be 85 point font. And we don't like this font either, so we can change it to any of the fonts that Adobe allows us to access. So we'll do Century Gothic. And then if we want, right now it's kind of hard to see part of the text because it's in front of a lighter thing. So if we wanted to have like a background, we're able to do that. If we scroll down a little bit and check the background, we're able, the default is a gray. to help set it off from the rest. And then if we switch to the selection tool, we can move the text around, so we can put it off to the side or center it. And then this text in the timeline shows up as this little effect box above the video clip. We can click and drag on the ends of this box to make it longer or shorter than the default. So we can change it to be as long as this last clip, or we could change it to be over the entire video if we wanted. So it's not locked here. So if we move back to these other clips that we were looking at before, now the vacation text shows up in front of all of these clips instead of just the one. One other thing that we can add to the project is music. Some of these videos had audio attached, and that's why there was a different line underneath it, but these just were video. And we're able to add a separate music track if we want that to be what's playing over the course of the video. So we have one audio track. We're going to click and drag it into this spot underneath the rest. And then because we don't want the audio from beach 1 and beach 2, we do need to disconnect that sound from those videos. So what we're going to do that is click beach 1, and we're going to right click and then hit unlink. So this will allow both the video and the audio to be edited separately. Now, instead of deleting everything, if I hit delete, it will remove just the audio. Whereas if it was unlinked, like this one, I hit delete, it just all goes away. So unlinking will let you just delete the audio track. And then while we're working on, now we've got a bunch of the audio that we do want, but it's really long. It's longer than the clips that we have. So we want to trim the audio so that it only runs until the end of the video. We can do that by selecting, select that clip, and then if we do the razor tool, we can cut it right there. Or if we go to the end with the selection tool still selected, we get that red bracket with the arrow, and we can shrink the end to match up there. So the razor would cut it off, and then you could delete what you don't need. With the trim, if we decide we want like a transition, like it want it to fade to black at the end, we will still have the audio there without having to re-add the audio. If you played your clip, which when I did that just now, I'm not sure that you can hear through Zoom, but there was a bunch of audio sound as I moved through it real quick. And you can see that happening in the right corner there. And if we decide, oh, that's too loud, we don't like that it's going all the way up there, we can adjust the gain. And then where? And right click on the file and then audio gain. And we can adjust the gain by the amount that we want. So if we lower the sound, and then we're going to hit play, and now the sound isn't getting quite as loud. It's staying below that maximum level. It was still a little loud though. We're sort of going to go back in and we'll adjust it by -10 instead. That'll do. another 5. It looks like it's adding. So we'll set the gain to -10. And then we can see that it's even lower. All right. So now we've got all of our clips together with the music. We can now export the file, which is basically saving it in a format that can be read by computers instead of being read by Premiere Pro. If I went to File and Save Project or Save As, it will allow me to save the project, the Premiere Pro project. And if you're working on a longer video that you can't do in one sitting, you should do that so that it saves all your work, and you should save periodically to make sure that it saves all the changes you made. You can hit save there. And then when you are done and you are ready to put the video somewhere else, whether that's like a YouTube channel, your own personal website, or putting it onto a DVD, you want to export it. It'll change, instead of that Pro project and that was on the save option, it'll instead, you can save it as like an MP4. So what you're going, there are a couple different ways and settings that you can export your video as, but you're going to hit File, and then if you move down to the bottom, it'll do Export, and then Media. And this gives you one last chance to change different settings here. This is the format that we want. The preset gives you lots of different options for like how big, if you want it in HD, 4K, SD, things like that. And then there are other options here. You can do 4K, 8K. There are some Facebook, YouTube options as well. We'll just do HD, standard HD. And then on the range should be the entire source, because that's going to be the whole video. If you wanted to just take a clip from your video, you could adjust it based on, again, you have in-out options where you can shrink the amount of the video that you want to be in this file that you're making. So we'll keep it as the entire source, and then we're going to hit export. And then depending on the length of your project and how many different clips and levels, it may take a longer time than this. This is a relatively short video with not a lot of effects, so it's exporting pretty quickly. And then once it is done exporting, there is a MP4 video file that contains the summer vacation clip. All right. Are there any final questions before we begin wrapping up and share some more resources? Okay. Go ahead.
Someone just, not a question, but they said it's all been great. It's very similar to iMovie.
Very similar to iMovie, you said?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of video editing software do work pretty similarly with being able to like cut little pieces of clips and move them around and layer them on top of each other to do effects. So if you've worked in one video editing software, the exact tools may change, the names of them may be different, but a lot of software do similar, if not the same things in the editing process. So back in the PowerPoint, we do have a few upcoming programs that might be interesting for you guys. InDesign Basics is coming up on July 15th. It will be virtual, just like this program, focused on the Adobe program InDesign instead of Premiere. So it'll be editing pictures and layouts of things that you might print out instead of a video. And then if you're interested in video and you are in grades 6 through 12, we do have Movie Maker Camp in July at the Haggard Library. If you're interested in that, you do have to pre-register online, and that should be available from the Plano library calendar. So if you go to the City of Plano website or the library website, and you go to the library calendar, if you find Movie Maker Camp on the calendar, the link to register should be there. All right, and then if you're interested in learning more about Premiere Pro, you have access to online learning options through LinkedIn Learning and Udemy. These are the names of some LinkedIn Learning courses that are available for free with your Plano library card. I'll leave that up for a second for people to take screenshots or pictures. All right. And then we'll open the floor for any final questions. But we are done presenting for today's program. Thank you all so much for coming. We'll stay for a little bit to answer any questions that pop up.
Someone asks if we will be doing this class again in the future.
I don't know that we have it scheduled again in the future. I do know that this program, as it was presented today, is going to be available on the Plano Public Library YouTube channel in a couple of days. We may already have a previous version of this program on our YouTube as well. And this is just Premiere Pro Basics. So if you wanted to learn beyond this class, again, highly recommend checking out Udemy or LinkedIn Learning for more projects. A lot of those online courses do the same thing, where they give you a bunch of sample files and then they walk you through creating a video. It'll depend course to course though.
Okay, I think that's everything then.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming, and hope you
Have a
come
great
to,
night.
yeah, have a great night. Hope you come to some more Plano virtual programs.